Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hello, 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 ha, ha, hoo. Ba la 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 Oh, so welcome to the Culture Edit. Unique perspectives into the personal and professional lives of individuals at the helm of successful business, athletics, art, and design. We were testing our mics and, accidentally created a little jingle.
That's how we test our mics pretty much each episode. But that time, I don't know, you laughed so hard. You
Pure gold.
Cried.
Pure gold.
So you said, let's share with the people.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was, we're the songbirds of our generation.
Yeah. Almost as funny as you being an honorary bridesmaid.
Yeah, people love that. Shout out to all them honorary bridesmaids out there.
Who would have known that would have triggered so many people?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but yeah, it's pretty funny.
I guess everyone has a bad wedding story.
Yeah.
And being an honorary bridesmaid, it kind of encapsulates a bad wedding story in its entirety.
Yeah, like it rehashes all your memories of your experiences. I also feel like maybe we're kind of like delirious recording this, and maybe that's why we think everything is funny, because we're so tired from waking up at 5 a.m. every day to do the group rides. That could be part of it as well.
Yeah, so we're still in Miami.
Still here.
With the theme of staying in Miami.
For those that don't know, we extended our stay and decided to stay through the weekend because Miami makes us happy, and we're not ready to be unhappy again.
For everyone in Atlanta, it's 75 degrees and sunny.
It's amazing.
Every day.
Every day. And so it's Saturday. We're leaving tomorrow, recording this really quick before we dive into our guests. But this morning we woke up, did the ZIeL Saturday ride. They go down to Homestead. We only did part of the ride because we're literally so tired we can barely function.
Yeah, not everyone that does that ride has ridden every single morning for 2 weeks straight.
After a half marathon.
I
literally have not taken a rest day.
I think Gunter and the crew gave us a pass not to ride all the way to Homestead.
Yeah. But it was insane. Like, we got to, well, it's really cool. We all met at the Rickenbacker Bridge and rode over to the shop. The shop is in shop/cafe is in Coral Gables. So we rode down there. It's about 11 miles from where we're staying. And when we got there was hundreds of people, just living life on their bikes, happy, drinking cafecito and just being, At 7 a.m. At 7 a.m. Everyone's just like jolly and happy. So that perks you up real quick when you're tired.
What we were talking about too is the perspective. The first time we did the ZIeL ride was in early 2021. So think about still pandemic time.
Mm-hmm.
It was in a different location, much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And they had just started it, and there was maybe 15 people we estimated on the ride.
15 to 20, yeah.
Yeah, today it was 100.
Yeah. And they said today was a small day because it was cooler in the morning. It was like 55 degrees, which to the Miamians, that's might as well be like below zero.
Bundled up.
Yeah. But it was still a huge group to us. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy what they've built, because they really went from, being more of a traditional bike shop model, and then added more retail. So it's been an amazing evolution, and just to like watch from afar, but also be included in the festivities when we come down here is a privilege, and we're super thankful for all of our friends at ZIeL.
Yeah, we really are. They don't have to include us like they do, but they do. It's pretty awesome. We said we're not going to spend a lot of time with our recommendations, but there are two places we did want to talk about.
Yes.
That are worthy of our
legendary.
Yeah.
One is definitely legendary. So jumping into it, our two recommendations, Enriquetas, which is a Cuban sandwich, Cuban food, basically like a hole in the wall. Like, it's like it looks like someone's home. Cafe, walk in.
Classic Cuban cafe.
Yeah, it's like amazing. You walk in, everyone's sitting at the bar. They have little tables. The kitchen is completely chaotic with people cooking amazing food. It smells like heaven.
It's David Beckham's favorite place.
I mean, we didn't know that until we went to their Instagram.
Yeah.
But we're staying right next to it, so it's really tempting to just try and eat there every day. But it is, not one for the health. Let's just say
it's the best Cuban sandwich I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
Best black beans and rice I've ever had in my life.
Definitely.
And the best Maduros I've ever had in my life. And I've had a lot.
Yeah, you
'Cause
have.
I lived in Tampa
You're
for
a
long
big
time.
Maduro guy,
I'm a big Maduro
but
guy.
I'm not a big Maduro
You hate
girl.
Maduros normally.
Yeah, I don't normally. Well, it's not that I'm just not a sweet tooth person. Like I don't eat a lot of sweets, so for me to like order something, like I never order dessert, and to me it's more of a dessert. But these were actually, even though I know they were still very unhealthy, they weren't like coated in sugar as much as some of the places that you get like
They didn't put anything on them. Yeah, they're plantains.
deep fried.
So for our non-Latin American friends, that's like a banana type. It's a banana.
I think most people know what plantains are.
You think people in Copenhagen know what a plantain is? No.
They're cultured.
Okay. It's like a banana.
Copenhagians, if you don't know what a plantain is, please message us because
they 100% have never.
I am
eaten a
curious.
plantain.
Okay.
So it's like a bigger, heartier banana.
Yeah.
You can't eat them just like ripe. You have to like let them basically go bad.
Yeah.
So that you let them go bad, so where they're brown, and then you saute them basically.
Yeah, it's like
you fry them too. You can fry them whenever they're ripe. They smash them and fry them.
Anyways, that was a really long plantain Maduro tangent, but they were amazing. It's one of those places where you look around at everyone's food constantly because you're trying to figure out like, did I miss something? Like, what do I need to order next time I come here? And every single plate that came out of that kitchen, I was just like that. I'm mad. Like I want to, like, even though my food tastes so good, I want to stop eating it and I want to order something different because I want to try everything. And then Doya, which was one of the recommendations of our guest today. It's like a Middle Eastern, tapa style Turkish.
It's the Del Bar.
We found the Del Bar of Miami, except with like 200 menu items. I mean, it's kind of overwhelming.
We found the Del Bar of Miami.
It's like if Barcelona and Del Bar had a baby, it would be Doya.
Oh yeah,
you know, because it's like top. It's Middle Eastern type food, but tapa style.
Yeah, it's our second time there, and we left. I mean, we actually weren't going to eat last night.
Yeah,
but we couldn't not eat because it smelled and looked so good.
Yeah, but we only got two things. We got the like grape leaf, like whatever they're called, the grape leaf dolmas, and then we got grilled charred octopus, which was really good.
And we actually got three things.
I don't remember. What was the
best Brussels sprouts I've ever had.
Oh, and the Brussels sprouts. They're really good. Yeah. And then I had the best espresso martini I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
And I didn't think that it could beat the one in New York that I had in Little Italy at a place can't even remember the name of, but it did. But
so that's it for the recommendations. Other than we did go to Casa Tua, which I think is one of our favorite places.
Yeah.
But no one that we know from Miami ever goes there, so I don't know.
Maybe it's just
why it's our favorite, but I mean, it's like a lot of activity, and it's in the mall, so I think that's why maybe it's in Brickell.
Well, what I've realized is that none of our bike friends stay up past like 7 o'clock here because they all have to wake up so early, so they don't go out.
Right. So I gotta get up at 5 a.m.
I mean, honestly, I'm so tired. If I lived here, I would have to go to bed at 7 or 8 o'clock too, just to get up and do this every day.
Yeah.
So
we have guests today.
Amazing guests today. Friends.
This is a long time coming. We're excited about this.
Yeah. Friends of the pod. They listen to the podcast. They support the podcast. They include us in everything when we come to Miami. So Elizabeth, or Lizzie, as everyone locally calls her.
I haven't been able to convert to Lizzie.
I like Lizzie. Ferrer. She and Victoria Romero are good friends. We met Vic when we first came to visit, and then Elizabeth maybe like a few times, like I can't remember, but it wasn't the first time we were visiting. I don't think she was riding with ZIeL yet.
No,
but it was like a couple times
2022.
Yeah, so we meet both of them. They're amazing people, and
part of the ZIeL team.
Yeah, part of the ZIeL team, and they really make everything run. I mean, there's a big team that makes this engine go, but these two lovely ladies do all the social media. We'll get into it, but like Elizabeth does all the nutrition for the athletes at ZIeL. Victoria leads. They both lead a bunch of the rides and are essentially ambassadors for the shop, and have given a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to the brand. So
yeah, and it's not. I think to clarify, it's not just a bike shop. It's a restaurant, cafe, community hub.
Yes,
it's probably.
It's a club.
We've gone all over the world visiting bike related, endurance related cafes.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's the best we've ever been to.
Definitely.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's very like Michael says, like service course
In Girona.
in Girona. If service course and La Fabrica came together.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, and they're located in Coral Gables, so slightly south of Miami. But definitely worth riding to if you bring your bike to Miami because they do amazing programming. I do want to shout out their food because Chris is working some magic in that kitchen because it's some of the best toasts I've ever had. And I haven't tried the empanadas yet, but I'm sure they're equally as amazing.
Truffle toast.
But the truffle toast, I'll be dreaming of that truffle toast, like night after night.
It's pretty good.
So kudos to Chris and the rest of the kitchen team because they're making magic happen.
Yeah, and Elizabeth is an entrepreneur too. She has her own business. She's a dietitian.
I'll link to it in the bio. But she'll go into what she does for the athletes, and she really has. I think I've spent like every day with Elizabeth on this trip, whether it was riding bikes or we went on a run over Key Biscayne yesterday. And we just talk about nutrition the entire time because I'm fascinated by it and she's the expert. So it's just me picking her brain. But she has a lot of really great insights. So all my cyclist friends or even runners, if you're feeling like you just need a reset on thinking of nutrition different, thinking of your fueling strategy for racing differently, she's a serious, and it's not just one of those things where she's a, dietitian, nutritionist that is going to give you opinions based on no experience. She is a strong, badass athlete. Like she's riding all the dudes off her wheel. She's really, really strong. She's done multiple Ironmans. She's a runner. She's a cyclist. I mean, so she's coming from my point in saying that she's coming from a place where she understands the actual nutrition needs for athletes. So I just think that's really important to understand that.
Both of them are super strong. Like they can ride on any ride.
Oh yeah. I mean, Vic has not been riding that long and she skyrocketed. I mean, and Gunter as her coach has been doing a great job. But yeah, Vic and I think the interesting thing about Vic is her and her dad. I wish we could have Enrique on the podcast. Yeah. They are the best dynamic duo that you've ever seen. Yeah. Like it's
imagine if your training partner was your dad or your daughter.
And he's so cool. Like he's like the nicest guy. And so they train together all the time. And it's pretty awesome. And both these ladies are very busy doing a lot.
Quite the setup.
Yeah.
Last thing, disclaimer, this was recorded live in a active environment. We had a studio audience for the first time. So this is not going to be our normal quiet niche studio.
You might hear some clinking.
There's a lot of clanking, a lot of people coming in and out of the facility.
Chit chat in the background.
Yeah, bikes rolling by. Hopefully it's not too distracting for you. This is the first time we've done this. So we actually don't know what it's going to sound like. But we do know that our microphones are super sensitive. And that's one of the
It'll be okay. Embrace, just close your eyes and picture yourself in a lovely cafe.
Yeah, having a conversation.
You'll be there with us.
Exactly.
All right, without further ado, let's get into our guests. Welcome to the Culture Edit.
Thank you for having us.
Bike going by in the background.
Bike going by in the background. We're in a bike shop. We're in a cafe bike shop. I can't even say bike shop because it's a very elevated storefront cafe / bike shop /
What do you call it, Vic?
Fit.
No, it's
studio.
it has a bit of everything. The original thing was called, it's going to be a ZIeL concept store. So it's like a concept store that has a little bit of everything. The idea behind this in Miami, the cycling culture is huge. I'm sure you guys have seen it. There's so many cyclists.
The biggest.
Yeah, and it's actually a big thing after the long rides, people have their beers, they like to drink, they like to bond, and there wasn't an actual place to come together and do something like that, and that's when we decided kind of like, hey, we need a place to come together as a community and hang out, and that's kind of what it is. But we have a lot going on. We have food, we have the bike fit, we have clothing, we have our nutritionist right here.
Yes.
Next to me. And so
custom bikes.
And welcome, you guys. It's your first time here. So.
Yeah.
First time in the new location.
In the new location.
Yeah, we went to the old location quite a bit.
Much different.
Much different.
Yeah, this is way bigger.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to talk about that journey. First, though, Elizabeth, how did you get connected with ZIeL?
With ZIeL was probably over about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
I was triathlete before and then a runner before that. But I would always see Gunther, our coach, and he would always see me running and everything. And I kind of started just cycling a little bit more. And he said, hey, come join us. And I will say at the beginning, I was like a little intimidated
Really?
to start. I don't think you were riding at the time.
I was actually taking a few weeks off.
You were taking some time off, and then I started joining ZIeL, and it's a little intimidating at first, for sure.
Yeah.
But then everybody's so nice once you start joining the rides little by little. And then once we got the Performance Hub kind of up and running with the ID match and with the Sika True Scan, the nutrition kind of came hand in hand. And I opened my own company too with the Diet Balanced, and it's been great because we can kind of work together. When I'm on rides sometimes, people just ask me nutrition questions.
I heard
left
that
and right.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Multiple people
Are you
asking.
ever like, come see me? I don't work for free.
Like, I'll request you later.
I'll send you the invoice later.
yeah, exactly. That'll be.
Yeah, it's very individualized, so I'll answer questions on the ride, no problem. But I'm like, if you want to get in depth and we want to keep this a safe ride, we can talk later.
We
Yeah.
talk about this in the console.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I told Nikki, I said that I mentioned to you that I hadn't eaten breakfast, and you were immediately like, I'll give you a bar.
I
Here's-
always have just in case like nutrition for people.
Emergency nutrition. What did emergency snacks? We had a friend that used to keep emergency snacks in her purse at all times, and I was like, what's the actual emergency? She's like, you never know when you're gonna need a
Yeah.
snack.
Yeah.
I'm
And when
like,
you don't have it is when you need it. so-
exactly.
That's true.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Elizabeth, I was trying to think back to this the first time we met because I was like,
I know exactly the moment that you were like,
okay, because I was trying to think. I remember when we met, but was it on the ZIeL ride or was it on Dom Pan?
I think it was, I don't know. I haven't done Don Pan in a while, but I remember
It was like a
specifically-
few years or a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys were down for I don't know what, just for the week or weekend, and we were on a long ride, and I thought you were someone else. I don't know if I thought she was Emma, and I was like, "Hey, Emma," or I said hi, and you were like, you looked at me, and you were like, "Oh no, I'm Nikki," and then I was like, "Oh, hi."
That's what it was because I got called that. Maybe it was Emma. So many people thought I was this person, and so people kept coming up to me and they're like, "Hey," and I was like, "Not her. Yeah, it's just a different person." And then I feel like we rode that day, and then it was like, maybe it was like the beginning going to Dom Pan. I saw you again.
Maybe the day after, because we do
Yeah.
the Saturday long rides here together,
yeah.
and then
the
the
Sunday.
Don Pan on Sunday.
Because I felt like you had like a really bright kit on.
Yeah, and it was before. It was before we opened. It was in Nomban. She used to be like pink, still is, but pink
Yeah,
everything.
now I'm
pink
more
out,
like sophisticated
pink
pink.
shoes.
Yeah, it was like bright color, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I used to do triathlons," and because I remember thinking, I was like, "Oh, she's really strong," like, and then yeah, I remember. But I was trying to think because I feel like I've met so many people now, like since 2021 when we first came here to ride bikes in Miami, and I'm like, how did I meet that person? Like now I've talked to them so much. Let's talk more about like how I think the craziest thing is it feels like the pandemic really poured fuel on the cycling scene in Miami. Was it that different before? Like, do you feel like there was already a big scene and then the pandemic just like kind of made it even bigger? Or do you think it really started with the pandemic? Everyone from the gym was like, I'm getting a bike and we're going to ride.
I mean, I can't really answer this because I'm actually a pandemic cyclist. So I started in the pandemic with my
Oh,
dad.
you are?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Now you know. Hello.
Elizabeth is like, you
What?
are?
I thought you
You're
were
a
riding for
pandemic
longer.
cyclist?
No, seriously.
I started in the pandemic with my dad. I was like a gym rat, and it's exactly what you just said. So I went to the gym, and then the gym closed down. My dad had an extra bike, so my dad had been riding for a few years. And he told me, hey, if you want to move your body, here's a bike. You can use it or do whatever you want. And that's when I started, and it kind of became like an addiction ever since. But I will say, I live in Key Biscayne, so riding out of the Key every day, I don't recall driving to high school and seeing so many cyclists. And I feel like right now it's just, you see a crazy amount of cyclists. So I do think it did kind of like boom from there.
Yeah.
But I think she can answer this better because you've been a
I think
cyclist.
so. I mean, I'm more on the triathlon side before, and I guess it was very different. I would always see like Don Pan going around, and I'm like, all right, let me get out of the way because I'm going to try bike and everything. But yeah, during COVID, there was a lot more cyclists. It was funner to ride around in Miami because you didn't have to deal with so many cars. So it
That's
was
true.
a lot
Yeah.
safer. But then, yeah, a lot of like new groups kind of like just came out of nowhere. And then we also got a lot more female cyclists post COVID. That's one thing that I feel like has been a huge
sure.
difference after COVID. And it's really nice. We've seen a lot more women on bikes here.
So many.
It's crazy. Like I try to explain it to people that have never ridden their bike in Miami, and they're like, "Really? Like, are there that many women?" And I'm like, "You don't understand. If you get on your bike at 6 a.m., 5:30, 6 a.m., and you just start riding to the key, you're gonna see hundreds of women riding their bikes.
We've
I've
never
never
ridden
in my never in my life seen that many women or people riding at one time. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it, though. I mean, it's you're riding in paradise. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys know this, like every day.
I mean, it's
We don't
flat.
appreciate it until we leave, and
I
then
mean,
we're
it's
like, "Oh."
definitely a place that you can ride year round,
Yeah.
you know, and
For sure.
something that I discovered with cycling is traveling with my bike. It's something that for me, it's like one of the best parts of cycling.
Yeah.
And I have noticed how different the cultures are. Like, people will ride later during the day or like after work. Here, it's like if you don't ride early, it's very difficult because of the traffic. It's super hot. Like,
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
9 a.m., it's terrible. So I have noticed that the cycling culture is different from the other places, and it's super flashy. Like, people like having the best
is a fashion
bikes, the
show
best
here.
clothes, looking good. Even if they just started, they want to look good. And I think
I
that's
love it.
something that
Yeah.
Miami is very unique, you know?
Very unique, yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite parts. Not to be like vain, but I think I don't know. I think the better you look, the better you feel. Like, not just cycling, but anything. Like, get up in the morning, get yourself dressed, put on, do whatever you need to do to make yourself feel good. But with cycling here, I'm always so impressed. Like, everyone's bike is perfectly clean. I mean, for the most part, pretty nice bikes. And then
Very.
everyone actually matches.
What about all that? Like, we notice like there's so many. So in Atlanta, the ride scene, to describe it, it's unique. We have giant group rides, and every group comes together. Like, all the different teams, all different groups come together and do these giant rides. I think a lot of that is because of safety, because it's like difficult to ride in Atlanta. But here we notice like it's groups that are staying together to do their rides. Like, is that kind of the scene here, like that we notice? Like,
Yes, because I really think that here it's not very scenic, you know? Like, what you have is the people around you, and that's it. So I guess it's kind of like people choose their group, their team, and it's who you're talking to the whole time. You really have nothing. It's just flat. It's very beautiful. The weather's amazing, but there's not really, it's very different, you know? What do you think?
Yeah. I think the only real ride that kind of brings a lot of people together would be Don Pan, but that's for very experienced. You want to go very fast or you want to hold on for dear life kind of a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'd say like on Saturdays or rides, a lot of different people from different groups will come because there's not a lot of Saturday long ride groups that are big.
open to
yeah,
people
that are
too,
open
you know,
to
for
people.
us.
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. By the way, every ride in Atlanta is like Don Pon.
Really?
Wow.
Every
my
single
God.
ride.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
kind of
Every
intimidating to
18
come in too then.
Well, so
That's why. Yeah, go ahead.
That's why I say it's really, like, I was talking to Gunter and he was like, why don't more women ride in Atlanta? Because there's really, I mean, there used to be more. I don't really know what happened, but there used to be more, and it's always like influxes. But now there's like maybe a handful of women that do these rides, and I've even been taking a break and just running. But I think it's because the barrier to entry is so much more difficult. So if you're new, a guy or a girl, and you get a bike and you show up to these rides, you're dropped so fast, like within just like minutes of starting. And then you don't even know where you are and it's not safe. And so then people give up really quickly. Where I think in Miami, it's like you could go to the key and ride by yourself in the bike lane and not feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die.
You'll probably meet
Yeah.
someone
Yeah,
while
you're
you're
gonna
riding.
meet someone.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna hop around. Like, you could hop from like group, especially if you're a girl. Like, no one's gonna yell at you for like jumping on the back of a group for safety. So it's just, yeah.
Side note, Elizabeth, when you were a triathlete and you would see Don Pon, were you like, I will never do that?
Does that answer? I think that answers it.
Whenever my like mom will ask me like, "Oh, you don't do those like rides, whatever," I'm like, "No, I don't."
Right. I will never do that
I
dangerous
used
ride.
to know exactly when because I used to be crazy and do like bridge repeats a lot. So I knew the timing of when Don Pan was going to be like on one side and the other. And sometimes it'd be like, oh my God, they're coming. So then I go to the side. And then now doing it, I'm like, it wasn't that bad, but it's doable. But of course, you have to be at that level to feel comfortable and safe doing it as
Yeah.
well.
And you know, speaking of, I think cycling is a sport that, like, if you're going into it alone, it's really difficult. Like, if you don't have guidance, it's super difficult to do the right thing. Like me, I was very lucky to be with my dad, and he showed me everything, like how to use the cleats, like how to ride, good cycling etiquette. He taught me everything. If you just go in and ride like that, you kind of have no idea what you're doing. You know,
Yeah.
it's very difficult. So I think that plays a lot into like group rides and people that are scared to go, because I've seen a lot of people since the pandemic that started riding, and it's yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the idea from ZIeL and how we got everything. Like we wanted a spot to have like, yeah, guidance, you know, help people. Like we have multiple rides a week. We have rides from Tuesday to Sunday. And Tuesday and Thursdays is for members only, but all the others are open. And we have a women's ride, actually, that we
On
kind of
Wednesdays.
started.
Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Wednesdays.
Women's
I'm
Wednesdays.
joining that this Wednesday.
Can't
Oh,
wait.
yes.
How we
Yeah.
can-
I'm
yeah.
excited.
And
Yeah.
so that's kind of like where it started. And Lizzie
It's been
used to
over a
race.
year now that we did the Women's Wednesdays.
I remember when you first announced it on Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool! I can't wait!" But this is like the longest time we've taken not visiting Miami, so I
Yeah.
haven't been able to.
It's
join
been a
any.
while, yeah.
It's been like a year. I think last March
It
was
was last March. Yeah. Not quite a year. Yeah.
But you feel like more and more women are coming and like interested in it.
And you know, I think something really important. When I started riding, I went into racing and I started doing some like crit races, and
I remember
noticed
that.
and I noticed that a lot of people, and especially guys, they tend to put women against each other without even like, you don't even know the girl, and they're
Yeah.
like, oh, she's stronger, oh this, oh, who would win, and it's kind of like they already create that tension.
Yep.
And that made me really like stop enjoying this, like that, you know. I would look at my bike and I didn't even know what to ride anymore. I felt kind of like out of place in a way. And that's kind of like where the idea of the women's ride came. Like we needed an environment where girls feel comfortable to ride. They feel like they're welcome and they're not going to be judged. They're not going to be judged. They're not going to feel unsafe. On the contrary, we focus on safety and everyone feeling comfortable and welcome. And that's kind of like
Yeah,
where
we
everything started.
build each other up for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Even if it's someone that it's their first time, like we'll ask, and we'll kind of ask if they want to pool or if they don't want to pool. And if, say, we have like a smaller group that day, then the ride's not always super hard, the women's rides. That's how we started in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, the need is more of getting girls to feel comfortable and pushing on the ride, because on a co-ed ride, for example, the guys are going to try to do most of the pulling, and then if a girl wants to try to pull, someone will probably tell her something. So it's
Yeah.
like, here's where you have a safe space to like practice pulling, practice feeling safe enough to kind of just look back and pull off. So yeah, it's been
We
very-
actually had multiple girls that came, and it was like their first time joining a group ride.
Wow.
And for us, it was it was a compliment, like that.
Yeah.
They feel
safe,
safe enough
yeah.
to come with us, you know. And you do have to be like sometimes assertive, because it's the safety of others, you know. It's
Yeah.
really important. Like cycling is not a safe sport.
I agree.
Victoria
especially
is
in
good
Miami.
at that though.
Yeah.
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 I've seen her be good at that.
Good at it. I'm like, she'll do something about it. Don't worry, guys.
I got it. Well, yeah, because honestly, I do it. For me, that's the most important. Like, other than, yes, going fast, whatever, the most important is having a safe ride and enjoying it. And so we really do prioritize that. And it's been really, like, I think that's what has made the ride so popular. Like, I think the smallest ride we had is like 12 women.
Yeah.
And that's a lot
That's
of
a
women.
lot. Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
Oh,
a
I'd
lot.
be like ecstatic if I had 12.
Yeah.
women.
Yeah.
I honestly, it gets me through the week. Like Wednesdays, I have to go into the office, so I'm just like, oh. So it motivates me to kind of
It's
see
a really-
all the
yeah.
girls,
Yeah.
and it's more of like a friendship that we all
Exactly.
have. And like going back to the racing, like I was racing for the last 2 years or so, doing local crits, and yeah, it was like intimidating a little bit at first, but once you get to know the girls off of the bike, like everyone's so nice. But I think it's nice, the Wednesday rides that we have, and it's pretty well known now.
It's definitely a much different, more
Yeah.
inclusive culture here
And that's
to newer
actually
riders.
something that we'd like to focus on it with ZIeL. So we actually created memberships. And the memberships, it's just to have a little bit more structure and safety in it. Because honestly, the rides we were doing, like on Saturdays, we have over 100 people every time.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets to a point where it's hard to lead that big of a ride. It's just too
Very.
many people, and it can just get sketchy, and it's just not. And we started actually doing 2 groups at first, an A group, a B group. One was faster, one was slower, but it was too big still. And that's kind of like where the idea of the memberships came, and people wanted to train. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we really focus on teaching people good cycling etiquette. Like, there's a good training. You came on Thursday, you saw it, like we divide in groups based on
Yeah.
your level. And that's kind of like, we have coaches in each one, so they teach the people. And I think that's really been what's made people more motivated to come, because they're actually getting help instead of being put down because, oh, you got dropped. Oh, no, because on the
Exactly.
contrary, I think it's better that they want to come and see, oh, how far can I go today? Or there's going to be someone that's going to help me or push me, other than, oh no, I'm going to get dropped. I'm going to be embarrassed. I'd rather not even go try, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
I think that's
And
something.
there's different tiers to the membership. Is that right?
Yes. So what kind of changes? So all the memberships include the training.
Yeah.
So what changes is kind of like the discount that we give. So on each membership, there's like a bigger discount. Like for example, the biggest membership is the Carbon, the most expensive, and that like you get a free coffee every time you come. You have a discount. You have a discount on the fitting system. So there's like some benefits there. You get a free jersey. There's a and is there a
There's
nutrition?
a discount for the nutrition services, yeah.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
actually have like a performance hub where we do bike fittings, and like it's like a body composition.
Yeah.
And we have our nutritionist here, and she does everything. So Elizabeth focuses on everything. She gets the clients, she gets them on the machine, and then she like explains to them, makes a nutrition plan.
What about the trips? How are those included into the membership, or are they included, or is it more of like you have access to the big trips? Because you all plan really cool trips.
What it is, they just have like, they're the first to know. So we have a group chat of only members, and they're the ones that we let them know with time before. So if they want to have their spot, we only have 15 spots, because we did a Mallorca trip last year in 2023. We had around 20, 25 people, and it was great, but it's a lot of people, especially abroad. You know,
Yeah.
like going to Europe, it's very different. Everything's smaller, like even the hotels, like the taxis, everything. It's really hard to do. But right now, we're gonna be going a group of 15 to Italy, and we're gonna watch the first stages of the tour, and we're gonna be there, and it's a good group of 15 people, and yeah.
That'll
Yeah.
be fun.
The tour starts in Italy this year.
I want to talk about the nutrition side of
Yeah, so do I.
of everything. So yesterday you were judging Chad based on his lack of fueling, and he was questioning your beta fueling for the group ride.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah,
told
you
me I was doing Unbound. I was like, hey, there's
We
new
have
research.
Someone asked you, because that was interesting. Someone's like asking you. I heard multiple people ask you, like, "What are you drinking? What's in your bottle?" Like, is that? I guess that happens on a lot of rides. People
It does
ask you.
happen on a lot of rides, and it's very individualized at the end of the day, because yeah, like a bigger guy that's 6'3" is probably not going to be able to, or I'm not going to be able to eat the same way that they do.
Yeah.
But no, on rides I talk about nutrition a lot, and I'm very in the philosophy with the new nutrition science that we have now, based on definitely getting more carbs in, even like kind of fueling around your exercise, even if it's before, during, after. Ideally you'd hit all three, but from what I've seen with a lot of clients, especially within cycling, is that it's really hard to get all three. So kind of like start somewhere. Like I'll have people with nothing in their bottles, just water, or maybe like an LMNT or something like a hydration tab in there that only has electrolytes, and then on a Saturday ride they're
me too.
dying.
Yeah.
But like for long rides, and then it's kind of like night and day once they start getting more nutrition in their bottles, and by that I mean carbs mainly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of like a learning curve, because I think before, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, it would almost be like, oh, I didn't have breakfast, I'm stronger, or I didn't eat this, I don't need a gel or anything. And it's like, no, the research has changed a little bit now, and
Yeah.
people are kind of taking some time to get used to it. But the pros are doing 90, 120 grams of carbs an hour. They're training differently
Yeah.
than us, but we can take some of that science approach to it and put it into our training.
And do you think about the level of intensity?
Yes.
Like a 3-hour ride, you know, I guess, yeah, walk me through that. So a 3-hour ride, moderate intensity, what should someone be thinking about in terms of carbs?
Definitely eating beforehand. If you're like doing any type of high intensity or anything that's over, I usually say like 75 minutes, you should probably eat something before. And then fueling during. Ideally, if you can get, the minimum is like 30 to 60 grams of carbs an hour. For something that's 3 hours long, that would be a good time frame. And that can be like a gel. But now they have, like we were talking about, the beta fuel.
Yeah.
So all these companies are now moving towards, behind all of this science, what's going on. So they're making these more concentrated, higher carb gels with different types of fueling strategies. So like different ingredients, so your gut's able to actually absorb and use it all. So that could be like one gel, or it could be maybe 2 gels an hour. It depends.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you prefer that method of getting your carbs through the liquid instead of trying to like do a gel or eat a block, or is it
Honestly,
just individual preference?
yeah, I think it's preference just because like there's so much taste. Like there's a lot of sport fuel
Yeah.
in like cycling, so that itself gets people really confused. So I kind of try to get back down to just the numbers. Like if you know what you like, if you know what your body's digesting well, then okay, we work with that. But if you're open to choosing, then if you want to mix it up with gels, chews, bars, the hydration in your bottles, yeah, it's individualized.
I'm really into Coca-Cola and honey buns. Is that not recommended?
I've
or-
seen your stories. I mean, we can calculate it in, but if your
You've
stomach
noticed?
can tolerate it,
Hey,
yeah.
can I add, if you drink Mexican Coca-Cola, it's not as bad.
I,
Because the
We-
sugar's
we
like
try.
different.
Yeah,
I
well,
like
there's,
the
there's a
Coke.
couple of gas stations.
Yeah, because
At
it's
Robert's.
cane sugar, so it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Plus
we
the
try. We try to
caffeine.
find it.
There's one gas station at Stone Mountain that has the Mexican Coke,
Yeah,
but there's a lot that don't.
yeah.
No, I'm a fan of Coke on the ride.
Okay.
It's almost like a drug for me.
No,
when
she
I
gets
see
it every mid-stop. She does get it.
Yeah,
She
because
does
it
get
like goes straight into my veins. I never have soda off the bike, so then
Yeah.
I feel like it's a
It's a
huge
moment.
punch. And then with the caffeine, because caffeine is a stimulant, and it's not energy or real energy. So even if we're having like a black coffee or something, that's more of something that's going to give you fake energy in a short period of time, but it's not giving you actual energy to fuel your ride.
Okay.
So the sugar from the Coke would.
Okay. Good.
I
Good to know.
think I've had the hardest time switching from cycling to running these past couple months because I'm like, I'm only doing, well, I don't want to say like only, but again, like a half marathon is typically less than an hour and 40 minutes or hour and, it's less than 2 hours typically. And so I'm like, well, what do I eat? Because I can't eat as much before a run as I could on a bike ride because I'll just throw it up basically. I have a very weak stomach. All my friends that ride with me know this.
Yep.
But I don't know what to eat. I'm like, so I eat like a tiny bit before I run, and then I usually don't eat anything throughout the run. Even for like the whole half marathon, I'm terrified of eating.
What did you do for the Atlanta one?
I had like 3 honey stinger like gummies because those were it didn't make my stomach upset. But it's like I can't feel full. Like
I think for running, as someone that goes back and forth with like cycling and running,
Yeah.
I definitely have a different fueling strategy. That
Yeah,
on the
what's
bike I
your
can
fueling?
tolerate a lot, but when running, I go on the lighter side, but I go more on like the gels or it depends on like liquid because I don't like carrying anything when I'm running.
Yeah.
But definitely don't do anything new on race day.
Yeah.
So
I have my honey stinger little things.
Yeah, have the same
I can
thing.
hold them in my hand and like just eat them one at a time.
Yeah,
throughout the
don't
race.
do anything new
Elizabeth's
this
afraid
Sunday.
to tell you anything because Nikki's
Yeah.
running a marathon.
I'm
and
disclaimer.
On the side of the road. I chugged like a bunch of sugar before the race.
Yeah, I'm like, disclaimer, don't do anything new on race day. But you really have to train your gut, like either if it's on the bike or on the run. I think the run is a little bit harder, but I like to run with like the 40-gram gels, and then I'll either have like half of it and I used to do that a lot with triathlon because I felt like I was just eating carbs, like sugar all the time, and I'd have to like rinse my mouth out sometimes. So I'd have sometimes just half and I'd tolerate it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So you can try that.
I'm curious your thoughts. So on older endurance athletes
Old.
that have been doing what you do, like, or what we do for 25, 30 years. So me and a lot of my friends, what we've noticed is that our desire to take in more food while we work out has significantly decreased over the years as we've gotten older. Is there research behind that? Like we
Like
don't
your appetite?
like we don't feel like we need as much even like during the ride or like after, like especially like after rides, we'd be like starving after this like airport ride. And like now I get back home and I'm like, whatever.
I mean, your metabolism changes over time, right? So it really depends on like your muscle mass will make a big difference. If you have more muscle mass, your metabolism is a lot higher, so
Oh,
you
that
burn
explains a lot,
quickly. So it depends.
If you're
on the
skinny
person.
fat.
But no, it's also something that you're used to. So if you've done something for so long, like I'll have some patients at work that they're 80 and I'm like, what can I realistically have them change? So people are used to their ways. So it's really difficult, I think, to change like your habits, and that could go from like how your appetite, how you feel. But definitely if people are eating like not eating a lot on the bike, but then they get home and they're ravenous for the rest of the day, eating a bunch of like bread or carbs. Then like it's, if we just switch it up, you'd be able to have the rest of your day to actually have a day and have energy and eat normally than just kind of like sitting on the couch feeling like shit and kind of just going to the refrigerator every 5 seconds because we didn't eat on the bike.
Yeah. Feel like their engine's still burning and they're just still.
Yeah.
I could keep asking nutrition questions, but then the whole thing would be, I feel like
What do you eat on the bike, Vic?
Sorry?
What do you eat on the bike? Do you do bottles, something in your bottle? Or
Honestly, I just do gels.
Yeah.
I really like Martin and Eversecond. They're really good on my stomach. And I think Lizzie is a very approachable person, and she's an example to follow. And she's very strong on the bike, and I think that's why so many people approach her, because they see her as an example. She's strong. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. I saw that firsthand yesterday.
Yeah, so I think, and me, I'm the first person to tell her, like, hey, should I eat now? I'm the first person to
You
ask
asked me
her.
yesterday.
I asked her, like, what do I do? And I get a gel, and she's like, yeah, I hear from the back. Like,
Oh,
the
yeah.
back's like, yeah, she's clapping because I ate a gel. So I like to eat, I do whatever she tells me. So she's a
you're
boss.
doing great. I think you're doing
Got
great. I give some positive reinforcement to people. Like whenever they reach back, I'm like, yes.
And she does. Since we have a members group chat, she sends a weekly nutrition tip and like and what they can have for breakfast. You've done
Just like a little
different ones.
reminder, and I think it helps. Especially, I think I sent one 2 weeks ago that was about remembering to put something in your bottles, not just water. Or take your gels, and I think like at least 3 or 4 people came up to me that next morning, and they're like, I did it right when I saw the message in the group chat, because some people in the morning, I mean, with the bikes, you have to get ready, you have to remember your helmet, you have to remember this, that sometimes, unfortunately, the nutrition is the last thing, and you're already, like, if you live in one of these condos, you're already all the way downstairs, you're not gonna make it to the ride. That's the one thing, unfortunately, you forget.
Yeah. So Elizabeth, I'm curious, changing gears here a little bit. As a friend of the pod, what questions or commentary, because you've heard other guests have had feedback commentary for us. What do you got? Have you thought of anything?
I had questions about like the setup, like how everything, like just the production side of things, because I'm not like an editor. Victoria helps me so much with anything. I'm like, oh, does this look good? Like little infographics that I make and things like that.
Yeah.
So this whole side of like the editing, how long does that take you typically?
oh, I don't
Depends
even
on
want
the
to talk
guest.
about it.
Depends on the guest.
So subject.
Too long.
Yeah, probably too long. Well, so like we have in our office, we have like a whole podcast like corner. We're actually moving new offices. We just signed a lease this morning, so it'll be more of like a little bit more of an
Studio,
official
more-
studio, which will make it easier to edit, hopefully. But really, we record, and I pretty much spend like, I would say for every, like if we record for an hour, like what is this at?
52.
52. So if we record for an hour, it'll probably take me like 3 to 4 hours to edit. So it usually, I like to say, it usually takes like 3 or 4 times whatever the time is to edit. Now, I will say that like I think this will be easier to edit because you all aren't overthinking anything.
Yeah.
The people that overthink it and have like really awkward pauses in their like mid-sentence, that's the hardest to edit. So like, because you'll have some people come on and they're really trying to like say the exact right thing, and then they talk
Or
like
they'll lose train of
this,
thought.
or
Yeah.
in the middle of a thought they're like go off on a completely random tangent, and I can't really edit that, so that makes it more difficult. But yeah, usually like 3 to 4 hours.
But the one-on-ones are pretty quick.
Yeah, the one-on-ones are easy because I'll kind of like be mentally editing it like while we're actually saying it, so I'll know where to cut. But it's definitely like it's a labor of love, and it usually happens on the weekend, usually Sundays.
Yeah.
But I will say it's kept us more responsible on the weekends, because we used to be like, oh, we're gonna get done with the bike ride, we'll go have some wine, we'll have like an Aperol spritz, and now I'm like, I've got to work.
I have a follow-up question on that.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think it was the last podcast or the second to last.
No.
Chad went off about dry January.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh
And I was
gosh.
like, oh, if we're gonna do this podcast, like I hope we do it at a time because I'm doing dry January.
Oh my God. Nutritionist is doing dry
He's just
January.
bitter because he did dry 35, which is 35 years of his life.
Yeah, I had so many
And he's
questions
like,
about that.
There's no awards for 1 month.
Well, if
I'm giving you an award right now.
Okay, well, I
He
appreciate
just
that.
wants the accolade.
If
That's all he wants.
you noticed my going off on it, though, was really about the hypocrisy of the people that say they're doing dry January and that actually aren't doing it.
Yeah,
That's what I was dealing with, is a lot of people doing that. Like,
Yeah.
We have
if you're
friends that are
actually
like-
doing it, I said, I mean, would take a lot of willpower to do that, and it's a
Yeah.
good accomplishment. So why are you doing dry January? What's the thought process?
Honestly, we kind of just wanted like a reset. Like
Yeah.
me and my boyfriend, we went out. Well, we were in Cocoa Beach, so I don't know how out you can go in Cocoa Beach.
I mean, there's a lot to do in
And
Cocoa
we
Beach.
were so hungover the next day.
Yeah.
And I probably had 4 drinks or so. And I guess I don't drink like that often anymore. And
Yeah.
I'm older now.
And you ride.
Don't look at
And
me.
you ride so
I'm like,
earlier.
You're what 30, 32?
I'm 30.
Come on, you're older now.
No, but Victoria puts me in my place. She's like, "You are a zillennial, or am I millennial? I
A
don't know."
millennial.
you're like, I'm like, you're like more
Because I
millennial.
hang out with you.
Yeah, so you're like
that
a
makes me a zillennial.
It's Vic
I'm
is Gen Z.
23, so yeah.
Yeah.
Zillennial though. I'm like right in the. I was born in the 2000, so
Yeah.
Gen Z Zillennial.
Yeah. I like Zillennial.
So what happens February 1?
We
Back
You
don't-
go off the rails.
Honestly, I think we're going to Las Vegas. That's what I'm training for now, a half marathon
Yeah.
in Vegas, and that's at the end of February. So we kind of looked at each other and we were like, "Yeah, we can just do it until Las Vegas."
Keep it going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's been your favorite episode so far?
My favorite episode. I think it was probably the ones with children's that you did with I forgot her name.
Linda.
Linda,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Because since my full-time job, I work for a health insurance company. Like I used to work in the hospital system, and I was both inpatient then outpatient, and now I'm kind of, they say it's the dark side with the health insurance, but hey, they're employing a dietitian, so
Yeah.
we're on the right track. So I'm more in like the corporate side. So ever since you guys started the podcast, I was like, wow, I can put a lot of this into my day to day. So I kind of see the higher ups, and now I feel like I know how to kind of communicate with them more because I've heard from more of them. I feel like it's more like personal.
Yeah. You realize they're human?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they're human, even though like in our office they're like on another wing, but whatever,
Yeah.
it's a nice new office. But I think I messaged you once saying, we kind of have all these new little like seating areas that no one sits at.
Yeah.
And I just went over there and took my laptop. People looked at me like if I was crazy. And I was like, I mean, I could just lay down and take a nap because it's so comfortable. But yeah, I think on the corporate side, that was really nice to kind of see. And then on the side of like working in healthcare as well. So it's really cool. Just
Yeah.
knowing what you guys do for healthcare, I was like, oh, I didn't know that that's what they could help with and do.
Yeah.
So as one of your clients.
Yeah, Children's is amazing, and they're leaders. I mean, all of our clients were really lucky that the leaders really care about people. I mean, they wouldn't hire us if they didn't care.
Yeah.
But it gives me even unique perspective because I mean, I've never been an executive at a company, but now I see, like, oh, like they're normal people, and most executives, if the company's a good company, they want to do the right thing and they actually want to engage with employees no matter who you are. But like if you were to ask me, 10 years ago, like, oh, would you go up to the head of marketing of the Atlanta Braves? I would have been like, oh my gosh, no, I'm never talking to him. That's completely terrifying. But now looking back, I'm like, I should have just gone up and been like, tell me, like, how did you get here? Or like, just ask more questions about his knowledge.
They actually like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's good. That's
yeah,
really good.
I'm glad you
feedback.
enjoyed
Yeah.
that one. And Linda is an avid listener. So Linda,
Yeah.
you need to be
She'll
on the
be-
podcast
she'll be
even
excited.
more.
She's the baker too, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
That was
Wow.
That was crazy.
Crazy.
We had I feel like we know a lot about our guests before they come on the podcast, especially like if we're working with them for a long time as a client. When she told us that, we were like, wait, what?
I was in shock.
We
Vic,
just don't know how she has the time.
so Linda is basically like
She's a chief
she's a chief administrative
officer.
officer, but that doesn't even I feel like give a good description of what she does. She does everything at this at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, which is one of the largest pediatric systems in America. And on top of that, she got certified during right after COVID as an EMT and works in the emergency room. Didn't tell anyone, secretly got certified, does all of this after work. And then on top of it, for her entire team, she's like, I want to do something nice for them this year. she sent out a thing to like how many? It was like 50 people, and
Yeah.
asked them what their favorite dessert was. And on their birthday, she hand baked from scratch every single person's favorite
Yeah.
dessert. And we were like, where do you find the time? It's crazy.
So we're like, we can do a podcast on Sunday.
Oh yeah, we're like, we can't. Exactly. Every time I'm
Doable.
like, oh man, I have to edit this. I think of Linda doing all this other stuff. I'm like, I can find time to edit the podcast.
It's cool.
Yeah.
All right, the
think
fun
that-
stuff, like recommendations.
Oh yeah. We like ending on like recommendations, and I know you all texted me some already, but if people come in town, where's the first place you take them for lunch or dinner or drinks?
All the above.
I would take you to Coco, which is a Mexican
Coco.
restaurant that
Oh,
I
the one that you
recommended.
said, okay.
Yeah,
So I would
I
take
do
you
all
there
that.
in the Grove because
Yeah.
just the decorations are super nice. The food is super good,
Yeah.
and it's just a nice environment. Like it's not, there's like nice music, stuff like that. So that's where I would take you. But I don't know. This
Actually, like Sushi Garage. They have a really good happy hour, and I think the happy hour is until like 7 or 8 p.m. So it's like reasonable, and
That's
it's kind
in
of outside.
Coconut Grove?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I
Sushi
think,
Garage.
Sushi
yeah.
Okay.
I think
A
they
garage
have
made
one.
of sushi.
I'm not sure about the name.
It's we'll look it up. It looks nice.
Okay.
I've been there quite a few times. But they have like an inside and outside seating area. Like
Yeah.
in the summertime, it's a little hot, but I'd go there. Yeah, for sushi, burgers, local. I love. We used to all go to Barracudas. That was like
Yeah, that
the
was
a
thing
spot before
on
here.
Saturdays.
Yeah.
We went there a few times. That was
Yeah.
where they stopped after.
Yeah, it's Gunter's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gunter's place.
More for beer.
Yeah. What about Wynwood?
In Wynwood.
Doya is
Doya?
a
Yeah,
restaurant. It's
Doya's
a
good.
Mediterranean restaurant.
Oh, Miami was good.
I
I
haven't
went there
gone there.
once with some running friends for like a brunch. I don't know if it was Saturday or Sunday.
It's just Miami.
Yeah,
No,
but with a
But like,
Y.
it's M
Miami.
A
Oh, I see.
Miami.
M-A-Y.
That was
Yeah.
like a show.
No,
I
I
didn't
don't
know. I thought it was gonna be like a cool place. I had bottomless mimosas, whatever, and it was like a full-on show going on. I think
Okay.
there's a couple of like interactive brunches these days in Miami. So
That's-
yeah, Miami.
Okay, that's
There's
cool.
a nice brewery called La Tropical. I also recommended it to
Oh, yeah,
her.
yeah, I have that on
They
the
have
list.
really good tapas.
Yeah.
And like you can see like like how they make the beer. Like it's really nice and it's a really nice environment. So that's a
cool.
really nice place. And
I know this is random and it's not in like a super scenic place, but what about Casa Tua in Brickell?
it's super
Never
popular.
been.
Yeah.
It's really
I've seen
popular.
it though.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Like
like
it's
it.
just it's kind of like a food court, but a really nice food court.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's in Brickell City Center, and
Yeah.
it's all Italian stuff, and
Yeah.
they have like a bunch of stations, and you can get pizza, you can get pasta, you can get anything. It's you eat way too much there,
Yeah.
but it's really good.
And then Emma, also yesterday when I was talking to her, she mentioned this place that I already have all these at Google.
Oh, Lagniappe.
Yes, I didn't know how to say it.
Oh,
so
Yes,
then she
Lagniappe.
said-
Lagniappe. Yeah, so it's like it's a super cozy place, and
Yeah.
it's like
Super chill,
you
yeah.
pick your bottle of wine or just a glass, and you can get like cheese, prosciutto, all these things. It's super nice.
Yeah.
It's very like not hipster, but like that vibe,
Very
you know?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a bunch of different chairs
Yeah,
from
like
Okay.
everywhere.
Yeah.
it's not like
Yeah.
fancy.
All the chairs are
Yeah.
different.
Everything's
Every-
used
They're
furniture.
thrifted.
They got a lot from flea markets.
Yeah, that was
No, I think we have a good list to
Yeah, for sure.
go off of.
Okay, anything else for us? Any questions for us?
I mean, what do you guys think of the new store of everything? And
I love
It's
it.
awesome.
I'm jealous that we don't have this in
Yeah,
Atlanta.
this is special. It really
what's
is.
your perspective on it and the community here and everything?
I mean, I'm obsessed. I want to live here.
Yeah.
It's a sore subject.
Which we can't do. But yeah, I mean, it's, the community you have here is, I mean, we think it's probably, and we travel all over the world riding bikes. We think it's the best cycling community.
I would
that
prefer
there
to come
is.
here over anywhere else.
I mean, you're talking
to
about
ride bikes, yeah.
the positivity and, the energy that you have. And everyone's extremely friendly, which you don't find in cycling in a lot of cities, especially in California.
Yeah, people aren't there.
But I think that's very unique. I do like, to me, the lack of different routes would probably wear
Get
me
boring,
down.
yeah.
In
But that's
Atlanta,
why
we
they,
have
like-
infinite
Yeah.
number of places we can go, and here you're limited there. But the trade-off is that it's paradise and everyone's cool.
Well, and you have good friends, like, because I think that's what you were saying is because the riding can get kind of like redundant and like you're doing the same route all the time. people really prioritize who they ride with, because otherwise if you're like doing a route that you do 100 times a week and then you're riding with people you don't even like, you're like, well, what am I doing?
This is a part of like our social life.
Yeah. Where I think in Atlanta there's so many options. People are like, oh, I'll just go ride by myself because I have this like, I can just kind of ride anywhere, which is really cool. We really want you all to come visit like Atlanta and really North Georgia in the summer, because the routes that we have riding up there is like,
it's pretty special.
It's some of the most beautiful riding that I've ever seen. And again, it's a lot of climbing, but it's so pretty that you're kind of just like, you're looking around like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Elizabeth's been there. She knows the climbs, but
Yeah, but I need to go with the right cassette.
Yeah.
Right
cassette.
in a different route. We've got different routes.
Yeah, you don't have to do Six Gap.
We won't
Better
take up Hog Pen.
trained.
There's better climbs, much more scenic routes.
we'll never do Hog Pen. I mean, Michael likes to go to Hog Pen, but we won't do
Yeah,
Hog
well,
Pen.
he lives like at the bottom of Hog Pen. He has a cabin.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, this has been really fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
for
us.
having us.
Thank you for inviting us into the new shop and for including us in the rides. All the time.
Always. You're
Yeah.
always welcome. It's
Good
always
luck on
awesome having you
Sunday.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Dime, esto es lo que tú querías. Yo soy fino, esto es trap de galería.